Okay.
Sounds
All right. Cool. Here we go. I'm recording already. All right. Today I have a very special guest and friend, Dr. Lisa Olszewski. Did I say that right? Did I say it right?
You said it right. Awesome.
Woo!
Olszewski, you got it.
Olszewski. All right. So
Woohoo!
she is just a wealth of information, and we're going to deep dive into her own health journey because I want to hear her story. You guys want to hear her story. And we're talking all things health, keto, thyroid related, the whole deal today. It's going to be a really, really good one. So Dr. Lisa, thank you so much for jumping on. And can you tell everybody how you came into this space, into this health world?
My health world. Well, I've been a chiropractor for holy crap, like almost 20 years. Like that's scary to me because I still think I'm in my 20s. When did that happen?
Struggle
like until I hang out with like people in their 20s and then I'm like, oh, I'm so not here anymore. But anyways, I was that girl. I would say early 2000s. I was in my chiropractic practice. I was teaching people to eat, low carb, eating more as our ancestors ate, like doing fast bursts of activity without long drawn out cardio. So it was all kind of like the wellness diplomate program I went through was all of this stuff within chiropractic. And it was before the terms CrossFit and paleo, right? Yeah. Before those really became sexy, but that was in essence what it was. And so we were talking about eating from nature. I mean, I remember like Amy at this point, the MD in the building next to me, because I'll talk about this a lot on my podcast. She actually had said, first off, the iodine that I was telling people to take was not, there was no scientific backing on it. That was stupid. They didn't need it for anything because, obviously we know iodine helps with fibrocystic breast and also obviously with the thyroid, all sorts of stuff. Oh, yeah. We were doing that. And then they started, my patients coming in saying, well, Dr. So-and-so said you're going to kill me because you're telling me to eat coconut oil. It's going to clog up my arteries. And I was like, oh my gosh. Right? Yeah. So anyways, that's where I was. So I was always doing everything right, like quote unquote, right. I was the girl, you fast forward, like I was doing CrossFit at one of the first affiliates here in Ann Arbor. Like this is where I used to CrossFit. Julia Fauché was one of them that was there, right? Like she was number 3 in the world way back a couple of years ago. So we had amazing trainers doing CrossFit 5 days a week. I was eating strict paleo, low carb paleo. I should even say that, because paleo, you can do some damage with carbs. Right. But I was struggling to be like a size 14, sometimes even a size 16. I just shared with you, like 2012, I ran 7 half marathons. I was able to do that, but holy smokes, I was not feeling right. And so when I would go through and teach our patients to go through and do no sugar, we were a Whole30 office back in the day before that whole, wherever they're at now. But I would teach our patients to eat well, and this is how we're doing this. And I felt judged. Because I felt like they looked at me saying, all right, you're lying to me because you're saying you never eat sugar, but you're fat, right? Like it was that thought process. And so I was like, but I really don't eat sugar. Like there's something happening. And it was a really good friend of mine. She's actually out of Pennsylvania, Eastern PA. We were at a conference. It was in November, December of 2015. And she said, here's the deal, Lisa, we got to figure out what's wrong with you. She goes, I understand why I'm fat. She goes, I don't understand about you. And then to have somebody actually tell you that you're fat, like that's even worse. Cause I feel like I sat there thinking, well, I can call myself fat, but if, other people don't say it, it must not be. I must be okay. And she goes, I see how little you eat and I see how clean you eat and I see how hard you work out. You should be a size 0. What is wrong with you? And that hit me hard. And so I started digging. And at that point, intermittent fasting was a new big thing. I did really strict intermittent fasting, basically 1 meal a day. I was low calorie. It was stupid. Like it was everything that I knew I shouldn't do, but I wanted to be skinny. And so with that, I lost 30 pounds in like 6 weeks. But over that time period, I lost my periods. And then this is something I just now have been able to talk about because it was such a scary experience. I started losing my hair. And I didn't realize, I remember getting ready for, it was the Cal Jam Gala, and I was getting all dolled up. I washed my hair and I had a chunk of hair fall out, like just massive. And I was like, that's a lot of hair, but didn't think anything of it, just threw it out. Yep. And it was a couple weeks later, I was at my hairstylist here. I'm in a town of 5,000. She's like, Lisa, I need to show you something. And I was like, why do I have a bald spot back there? And she's like, I need to show you something. Amy, I went into a panic attack and couldn't breathe. I had a bald spot right in the back of my head. And then I was panicked thinking, how long have I been walking around with my hair down? So I would always wear it down. How many people have seen this? Nobody's told me this. Oh my God. And she looked at me and she's like, I'm calling the ambulance. I'm like, you can't call the ambulance on me. Like, I'm the chiropractor in the town of 5,000. You can't do that. So got myself out of it. It was the only panic attack I've had in my life. It was horrible, but got out. And that's when I realized, okay, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And then the worst part was over the course of the next year, basically, I never wore my hair down again. It was up in a ponytail all along. And so people that know me now were like, oh, that makes sense. Because you always had it down. And then for a year, you had it up.
Mm-hmm.
But the worst thing was walking into conferences and having huge names within my chiropractic field walk up to me and telling me how sexy I looked. And I remember like two of the guys, one of the guys in July of that year, I was in Atlanta. He's like, you look so amazing. Like, you're just so damn sexy now. And I felt like punching him in the gut, sitting there saying, oh, good. Now I'm sexy. I wasn't sexy 30 pounds heavier, but now I've lost my freaking hair and I have no energy. I've got bags under my eyes. I can't stay awake throughout the day. Haven't had a period in months. Can't get that back, but, oh, I'm sexy now. Right. Like, these guys, like, I need to tell them, they're friends of mine, just to be like, you are the people I talk about on these podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was my thing. So that's when I started digging. And it was at that point, like, I knew that intermittent fasting was different. Like, there's something different for women. Keto, I was like, we've got to do this different. We've got to. But it was all these guys, like, the male bloggers that were sitting there telling us all the intermittent fasts. And then you'd search and they're like, women and intermittent fasting. Nope, you're just doing it wrong. Nope, You're just doing it wrong. And so finally, one of these big name male bloggers, his wife started having issues. And that's when he said, whoa, wait a minute, women, you might have to do this differently. I was like, no shit. Like, really? Those of us that were screaming, but you guys just kept telling us we were doing it wrong. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's my story. So I always tell people, yeah, you know what? I've gained back some of my weight, not, well, I guess we'll go and talk about my thyroid. At that point, I had gained about 10 pounds of my weight back. And I was like, that's fine. I'm having periods again. Like, that's fine. Until the last 6 months, and all of a sudden 20 pounds came on and I was like, what just happened? Now I'm right back at my starting point, even though I wasn't back in those clothes, which was weird. So I knew I'd gained some muscle, but that's when I realized my thyroid had really tanked. So I'm on that process again, and the weight's coming back down, which I'm happy on that one. But it's a roller coaster, right? Like, that's all of us. Like, I never thought at 42 years old, I was going to be being diagnosed with Hashimoto's, like, full blown, hey, holy crap, your thyroid has just totally got up and left.
Yeah.
Like, basically.
Yeah.
It left the party. It's me.
It's out. It's gone. It's shut down. But no, you're the perfect guest, because you have spoken to the women that are killing themselves right now, trying to over diet and over exercise, and being told, reinforced by the media, or even by, like in your case, people around them, that, hey, you look good, when really they are killing themselves inside. I mean, that's borderline eating disorder, behavior. And you're lucky that you didn't go into full blown. I mean, I know even just competing, that's whack. That's wacky thinking. And you do kind of develop this like body dysmorphia where you see yourself as larger than you are, and this whole deal. And so you're speaking to them, and then you're also speaking to the women that have experienced the up and downs with weight, and that might be in this place. Now, we figured you out, but in this place where you're going, if we rewind 2 months ago, you're like, wait, what? Why am I gaining weight? What's going on with my body? What's happening again? Wait, I'm doing everything right. I'm still doing all the stuff that kept me healthy for years. I'm not doing the shit that I did back in 2015. What's going on? And here we find out that you have full blown Hashimoto's. Full blown.
Holy crud. Like,
yeah.
Like we had just said, you were the first person I texted. You and Stephanie were on that group thread. I walked out after getting my lab results and I ran into the bathroom and I like screenshotted it and sent it over to you guys. So like, yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, hey, you're a little thyroid, little issues. Like it was bad. And here I had been blaming my weight gain. I'm a small business owner, right? And a brick and mortar, when people are like, oh, just switch to virtual. I'm like, I'm a chiropractor. My hands need to be on you. I can't like telepathically adjust your spine. So when people were like, oh, just switch to virtual in COVID, it was like, I can't, that's not my option.
Right.
And so it was a lot of stress over the last year and a half. So I kept blaming my adrenal glands. I was blaming also the gut cleanse I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
and I think
out
a lot of people do, I think a lot of women go right for the adrenals. Like, oh, my adrenals are blown out. That's why I'm gaining. Oh, must be stress. And it could be, but you have to kind of look at everything to figure it out.
Well, we know thyroid never goes until the adrenals have long gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like
so,
they're all interrelated. It's all absolutely interrelated.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's my story. And it's one of those things now that I feel like I am so compelled just to share with women to be a-okay with who you are. Because, you know, like I can even go into that whole fact, like, hey, yeah, I'm single, and I can go into all sorts of stuff saying, well, what's wrong with me this way? But it's like, hey, you know what? No, I actually choose to be single at this point, and I'm okay with this. Like, I don't care that society says I should have been married. I should have had my 2.3 kids. I should have been this. No, like, I'm happy. I'm healthy. This is the life that I've chosen to live. Like, and it's okay. Like, it's okay, ladies, to choose wherever you're at and to be there. Like, you know, I don't know why do they do that to us? I don't want to sit here and scream like, hey, like but we have to be a-okay with who we are and be okay with ourselves. And whatever body size that is, it's okay as long as you're healthy. Like that was my thing. Like I was always healthy. Just because my body didn't show that, like, you said it earlier too, like when we were like, like you were on my podcast, right? We said like, you can be like skinny fat.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest lines that we'll see, like, sometimes people may appear skinny and they appear healthy, but really all they're doing is like giving their pallbearers a lighter coffin to carry because they're not healthy.
That's good.
Like, right?
Like that. Yeah.
So I mean,
and I think focusing on how you feel, I know I need to get back to that with my patients too, because I understand that weight is a huge issue as a woman, and especially if you are struggling with a thyroid condition and you've gone through that weight that just keeps coming on, or weight that you can't take off, and you get frustrated. And I get text messages like, I can't lose weight. It's still not coming off. We're working on my thyroid. It's still not coming off. But we have to look at, well, do we have you more healthy right now? Like, let's start there. Are your numbers better? Is your insulin better? Is your blood sugar better? Are you experiencing like more energy, less brain fog? Are you pooping every day? Okay, that is a good sign. That tells us we're on the right track. The weight will come. It will come. But you being healthy is the most important piece of the puzzle. And then the weight will start falling off when your body goes, hey, this person isn't as inflamed anymore because they're not killing themselves doing CrossFit 5 days a week.
Exactly. Right. Or like, even for me, what I have, since realized, because it was in May of this year that I started realizing like I could do carnivore, and typically you'd see a couple of pounds start shifting right away and doing, because you're eliminating everything that's, inflammatory. And I did that and my weight went up and I was like, oh, something's off. Right? Like that was my first indicator this year, was about April, May. And then it took me several more months to actually be like, I need to get my thyroid tested, because this is like, I am working out and I'm not, and eating so clean and nothing was shifting. And then it's also, if we have toxicity, if we have heavy metals, if we have other stuff, like I always tell our patients that like that fat is your body's mechanism of trying to protect yourself. Right. Like I think of that, like if you were to drop a ton of fat right now, then you end up with all these other toxins floating around in the body. And that's not something that you want either. So sometimes we've got to look at different things that way, just to make sure like, hey, what is the quality of food that you're eating? Are we eating something with a lot of excess estrogen in which your body's saying, okay, time out? Are you eating stuff with a bunch of glyphosate on it? Because that's, again, another toxicity issue. So we've got to make sure that we're eating clean as well. So
And I'm going to try to work this in so the bots can't catch it. And we're going to use code words and people will be able to figure it out. Right. So you got because I feel passionate about this because I have and I want this message out because my patients listen to this too. And I want to kind of stop I'm gaining weight text messages that I'm getting and I'm going to get as this thing continues. You tested your thyroid it was August, right? That's where you had the sky high antibodies, correct?
Yes, that was blood work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tested your thyroid in August. You sent me the picture screenshot. My jaw dropped to the floor. Since then, I have spoken your story, during a patient consultation, but I haven't said it out loud. So you and I have not participated in the mass campaign that people are being told what to do to protect themselves during the pandemic. You and I are one of those that have not done so, but yet you are around people that come into your office and your hands are on them, adjusting them, who have participated in the grand campaign. For one, personal reasons, family, whatever, immunocompromised loved one, parents, elderly parents, whatever. So by your hands being on these people, we have seen your thyroid antibodies go to 3866. So for all my thyroid people out there, their jaws are on the floor because they're like, my antibodies are 600. Is that high? Not compared to this.
No.
Not compared to this.
Like, and who would have thought it was going to be me, right? And it's also, we know certain things are being expelled through breath.
Yep. And being shed off the body. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, or transmitted. I feel like there's a doctor out there that was like, virus is shed, but this is more of a transmission of certain, I can't even say that doctor's name because that will probably flag it.
Yeah.
But I've been on airplanes in closed containers, right? And that was some of them that I noticed. If you start digging in, there are a lot of women our age that are noticing, not even our age, women that are having periods that have noticed really weird periods over the last 6 months.
Yep.
And I noticed it in March with my friends. Like we all just started saying, what has happened? Like something's going on. We're having the worst period of our life, right? Like, and it was just bizarre that all of us all at once. And then it was like April, May, we started seeing videos about this stuff. So there's something happening and I did a Dutch test. So granted that was urine. Yeah. I did that in October of last year and my hormones were fabulous.
Right.
I mean, I even sat down with another, somebody from that company to be like, hey, take a peek at this because it was somebody that we were looking at and they were like, this is somebody you want to test blood for thyroid, right? It was like, okay, cool. Take a look at mine. Yeah, no, there's no indicators for you. You're fine.
Yeah.
Granted, that was not blood work in October. So I don't know. People are going to be like, you guys are crazy. That can't be. I don't know.
No,
something's different.
Yeah. No, you would know. I mean, you can't just, even a normal Hashimoto's patient out there who, let's say, has antibodies and in, the 200s, 300s, 600s, they're not going to go to 3,800 in a heartbeat unless they're living a shitty lifestyle. Like we're talking eating McDonald's and Sheets every day, which you are on the complete opposite end.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, I mean,
that's true. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I sat there thinking, well, do I need to eliminate all lectins? Like, so that's what I did. Like, I started looking at that. I'm like, maybe I should go back down to carnivore and maybe I should do this, but something that is true. Like, I never thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy that it's me at these numbers, but it's also like, I touch sweaty people. Like that's what it is. Like it was summertime in Michigan. It's hot and humid here. Yep. So, I don't know. And this is what's just scary as we start to go into the next round of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So ladies, if you have participated in the mass, information, advice given to you as to what to do, or you're around people that have, but you have not, and you're gaining weight, this is something to think about. So yeah, we Lisa and I were at a mastermind retreat together, and we had menopausal women there getting their cycle. So you can see hormones are shifting. Remember, thyroid is a hormone, insulin's a hormone, vitamin D is a hormone, and then you have your sex hormones. Hormones are being shifted for menopausal women to be cycling and having a period.
And if you look at the first round of studies of this, and what happened within animal studies, because there are no animal studies on this round, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens to the immune system? And now they're talking about the possibility of autoimmune issues coming down the pike. So I don't know. It's the first time I've actually talked about it publicly on this, because people, I have to be quiet about it in the practice. Like, how do you think your antibodies got? So I don't know. I have suspicions, but I don't know. I also found out I do have heavy metals. I thought I got rid of them once before, but apparently not. So maybe that was, I don't know, but 3,800 is astronomical.
That's astronomical.
Regardless.
Yeah. I honestly don't think I have seen that number in decades on a person. Ever. So yeah. And your teeth.
And it's, and it's for me, I'm sitting here thinking like, my God, how much could I have accomplished in my life with the real numbers? Like, oh my God, I could have done so much more. And then it was like, well, no wonder I'm tired, no wonder but
yeah. So
but it's getting better.
We just had we had to touch on that because I know
a little caveat there.
Just that little caveat.
There's
Yeah, just something to think about, because Lisa does keto and advises women on keto. So talk to me about that. How'd you get, or we know how you got into the keto space, but now what do you do and what do you advise your patients to do? Because so many people in the thyroid space, if they've been on Dr. Google or they're jumping on, thyroid Facebook groups, they've heard keto is horrible for Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. And you and I both agree that it's not. So please expand.
No, it totally isn't. Like, it's so much like we need to get rid of the sugar out of our diets, right? And sugar is carbohydrates, because of the inflammation. And my biggest thing is like when I touch patients and it hurts and they're like, oh, that's so so that hurts. Like there's not much pressure that I'm using, especially with the technique that I do. So there's a running joke in our practice that basically from Halloween to Valentine's Day, people are pretty inflamed because of the crud that we're eating, the crap that we're eating. Like It's all Halloween candy. We go into Thanksgiving, Christmas and New Year's, etc. So we know it causes so much inflammation. We need to cut it out. Here's the deal also. Bacteria love sugar. Viruses love sugar. Like, you want to keep your immune system healthy, like clean up your diet, right? Cancer cells love sugar. We know sugar is as addictive as like cocaine, right? Like that's the reality of what it is. Yep. So I always talk to people, like if you're a type A, like Amy and I, like we can cut it out and we will go like cold turkey. But what I find is other people will try it and they're like, I felt horrible. I felt miserable. I will never do keto again. And it's like, no, so I have a strategic way of what we do to help make sure people actually win in this game, because truly keto is the way to live for ultimate health. Like that's what it is. Yeah. Are we doing keto 24/7, 365 days a year? No, I do cyclical keto. I want to make sure that we're, especially for cycling women, I want you to kick yourself out of ketosis, because when we think of it, what keto literally is, like you think of it, it's your body's, going back to Paleolithic ancestors. It is your body's way of saying, like, oh, hey, food is low. I'm going to tap into my fat stores. It's a time period of famine, right? Like, we're going to use fat for fuel instead of sugar for fuel. So that is our way of going through this. And so we just need to tell our parents, oh my God, tell our bodies every once in a while, hey, here are some carbohydrates. You're not starving. Food is abundant. We go back through, we burn sugar, and then we can flip back in and start burning fat again. So I don't know how much I can go further into keto. I don't know how much your everybody that's listening, how much do they know about keto? Like, I don't want to go through the basics.
We have so many different listeners. So some people are going to be like in the baby stages, just finding out they have a thyroid problem and they're learning. And then you have the more advanced people that are going to go, oh yeah, Amy talks about keto all the time. But I like hearing from other people because it gives a different take, and it kind of, supports what I say. So if 3 other women are saying, listen, keto is fine for your thyroid, then maybe somebody out there will be like, I've heard from 3 people that I can do keto and do it safely. So screw my doctor who said that it's going to raise my cholesterol. Yeah.
Golly gee, right. Isn't that so stupid? It's kind of like, the MD that was telling that I was clogging their arteries. I'm like, really? Because my coconut oil in my house in the middle of summer melts. And my body temperature is warmer than the 78 degrees in my house.
Right. Exactly.
Like, oh, I hate that. Or butter. Butter's going to clog your arteries. Really? Because if I set butter out on my countertop, it's pretty soft. And I know my body temperature is a little bit warmer than that. Trans fats will clog your arteries. Like, get that stuff out of your diet.
Yep. So, exactly.
Yeah. But absolutely not. Like keto is such, it is our innate way of eating, because again, like I'm in Michigan, we got a lot of food in the summertime. Winter, there isn't much around here. So again, going back to our ancestors, like granted, modern day America, we always have food, but with our ancestors and eating time periods that are less abundant, we need to be able to like tap into those fat stores. And that's literally, and here's the deal. Every single organ in your body loves ketones, and they all utilize ketones. Your liver doesn't. Your liver makes the ketones. But the fact is, like, when we're first born into this world, babies are in a state of ketosis. And then mother's milk is high in medium chain triglycerides, or MCT fats, because that's huge for brain growth. When is our biggest brain development is as an infant, right? As a baby. And so like, if we're naturally born into a state of ketosis, it's not a bad thing. So for sure. And like, like you even say this all the time, like, let's make sure our blood sugar is normal, because we don't need the type 2 diabetes that is going to come in by eating not well, like eating a lot of excess carbs. Like we need to cut it. It's really truly the way to eat. So, and again, cyclical. Like I know you love the keto keto during the week, and then on the weekends you do your thing. And as we get more metabolically flexible, we can easily do that. You can be in ketosis throughout the week. On the weekend, do a little bit of a cheat. And when I tell people to cheat, it's not like 500 grams of carbs. It's like 50 or 100. Right.
Like, it's exactly. Crazy. Have a sweet potato. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then you easily get back into ketosis. So
easily. Yeah. Cause your body becomes adapted. What about the people that say that you need glucose for your brain? What would you say to them?
Well, your brain loves ketones as well. Right.
I set you up there. I just wanted you to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, your brain loves ketones. And that's where I always just tell people, go on to, I hate Google, so I wouldn't say Google, but I DuckDuckGo everything. And it's so funny, I've used DuckDuckGo for years. So type in, whether you're using Google or whatever, just type in ketones and whatever, right? Like if you do thyroid, you're going to see all the crap, like, it's going to kill you. Like, no, it's really not. Intermittent fasting is going to kill you too. Like if you have thyroid issues. No, not necessarily. No, but it has been. God, I remember that years ago with, people, I know exactly who it was that started touting the thyroid and keto, and you can't do that if you're hypothyroid. No, actually you can. I just got it today. I told you, I did the Instagram post, and then lo and behold, somebody's like, oh, I had the same situation happen. Lisa, it's because you do keto. And I was like, actually, no. I'm like, God, I'm not going to, call her out. But I was like, actually, no, that's why I do cyclical keto. And that's why I really touch cyclical keto for people.
Oh my God, women, we sound so much alike. Like I always say, look on PubMed and go keto and you're going to find keto and Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, ADD, ADHD, autism, cancer, diabetes, insulin resistance. And it's all positive. It's studies showing keto and these disease states, keto helps these disease states. So
And even like right down the road here on 94 in, Michigan, Battle Creek, we all know that is Kellogg's, right? Kellogg's, whatever cereal company, but the one brother, it actually started out, they're Seventh-day Adventists, and they had a mental institution in the early 1900s here. And so they used to have this Kellogg's cereal, kind of like grape nuts, which is one of the brothers stole it and became the cereal company. But it actually started out as a whole sanitarium. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah. So they were doing keto for epilepsy. Yes. Like huge. That's all of the early 1900s. And so then guess what? Medications came out, and it's a whole lot easier to give somebody a pill than to teach them lifestyle. And we've obviously seen that with cholesterol and everything else. But at least this is what I see now in the last 20 years of practice. This better living through better chemistry is a bunch of baloney, and people are actually waking up to it. That's what I see right now, especially. People are waking up. They're like, something doesn't smell right. Something seems off. And again, how can I say this? Just again, better living through better chemistry, not working, because you're going to be paying lots of money for a long time for a lifestyle thing that you could fix it on your own. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And even just, you were talking earlier about the brain and when babies are born, they're born into a state of ketosis. Moms with, and I know we're talking hypo, but I talk about autism too. Moms with autistic kids, don't be scared of going keto, because those ketones for their brain. Have you ever had patients that did this with their kids and learning got better, cognition got better, focus got better?
Yes. And then they're always like, but it's so hard. They go to school and they're given other stuff. And I'm like, I understand that, but it's this is the health of your child, right? Can you send them to school with food? Do they have to go through the pizza line at school?
Yeah.
I mean, it's even just something I was talking with I hope my sister's okay with me saying that. My niece is brilliant, right? I love her because she's been, super healthy eater, right? Well, she's now in pre-K. And so she doesn't drink milk. She doesn't do and then my brother-in-law the other day said, yeah, I found out that she has to eat lunch at a different table. It's the non-milk table, kids. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sad.
Jeez, we're
that's so sad. But I was just children.
Yeah.
Based on they're eating a healthy diet by choosing, I'm like, and they have to eat over there. I guess I don't know. I don't have kids, but I guess with all the allergies now, you got kids everywhere Here,
Well,
peanut
yeah.
allergies over there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't
It's so
either, but
crazy.
it's a shame to see kids being, segregated or whatever. But hey, maybe that's good because they'll be with like-minded kids, just like we love being
Like-minded kids. That's
with
true.
each other and like-minded
That's so true.
people. So they'll be with the like-minded kids. Yeah. So when
That's
you
so true.
work with women, how do you guide them? How do you step them into, so if there's somebody out there that, let's say, is listening, they're still eating a standard American diet, or they're just, maybe they have stepped into paleo, which is a good first step,
Yeah.
but they
Yes.
still have high insulin levels, still have a high A1C, still high fasting glucose. So how do you transition them? What's that first step that they need to take?
My first thing, they have got to have an awareness of how many carbs they're eating. So even if you're doing paleo, like I think back, I mean, there were days that we did Whole30 a lot, right? And this was my issue with Whole30 was, I remember there were certain bars, I don't want to say what they are because they've actually been purchased by Kellogg. Like I used to order from when it was just the two guys at their CrossFit gym that were selling them.
Yep.
But, they were all fruit, some egg white protein, and nuts, I think were in them. So they were all paleo. Yeah. However, like, I ate those like all day long doing, Whole30. I was Whole30 because they were Whole30. Right. Oh my gosh. My sugar at that point would not have been cool, So, I mean, that was the thing, like we would do the Whole30 with people and it was like, well, you have to watch this. Like, cause literally today, like that could have been that's Whole30 approved. But it was like, come on, that's not even a balanced diet. So anyways, you got to have that awareness of how much sugar you're actually eating, how many carbohydrates you're eating. So grab an app, like you can get the freebies, like I use MyFitnessPal, right? But there are other apps just to track so that way you become aware. Because if you're eating 200 grams of carbs each day, but you really think you're only eating 50, like that's the issue. So first off, become aware. And then we got to strategically taper those carbs. Because again, if you're type A, you can bust through and say, yeah, I'm going to go down to 20 grams, get into ketosis, I'm good. But then somebody else is like, oh my gosh, I am so miserable. Like I have been a sugar burner. This is what's happening. You're a sugar burner your entire life. And now you go down to less than 20 grams of carbs and your body's saying, what the heck did you just do to me? You cut off the fuel source. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to burn ketones. I don't know how to burn your fat, lady. Like, what are you doing to me? And that's why we have keto flu. That's why we get exhausted. That's why you get the brain fog. That's why you just feel miserable for several days until your body says, oh, I got you. There's a backup fuel source. Aha, I better start tapping into fat. Yep. So, so I do that. And then I'm going to tell people this. I use exogenous ketones for people that really need some help in that transition, right? Like I've used it, and it was something that people came to me in 2015, 2016. I was like, I don't need that. I'm already in ketosis. I'm making my own ketones. Why would I ever flood my body with more ketones? Yeah. Oh, because of the health benefits. That's why. But also it's the fact of, I love it when that helps people kick their sugar. If they are so addicted to sugar and they can't cut it, like exogenous ketones are amazing for that.
Yeah.
And then, so we want to taper carbs. We want to do that. And then once you're really fat adapted, like you are in ketosis, I want you to kick yourself out of ketosis. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, it is that way you're telling your body, hey, guess what? Food is plentiful. Like you're not actually going to starve. There is food here. You can flip over, become a sugar burner, and then go right back into ketosis. Yep. So, and then that's also like when we're plateauing, like, especially again, we're talking thyroid. A lot of us might have weight issues. Once you start to plateau, I definitely want you to just increase your carbs a little, because this is the best example. And I think Dan Pompa uses this one, but if you think of it as a fire that's burning in the middle of winter, and as our wood stack continues to get lower and lower, we start putting less wood on the fire. So the furnace isn't as big. I'm really not doing this justice as to how Dan explains it, but it's not burning as big. And then somebody comes in and restocks all of the wood pile. Hey, all the, gives the carbs back. Now we can reburn again and that furnace can go back up. So that's when our metabolism, you're stoking the fire, stoking the flames.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah. Just come out of ketosis, right. Just to, and even from the T3 point of view, I think the reason why keto and hypothyroidism get such a bad rap is, yes, we know if you do 20 grams of carbs or less, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you are going to tank your T3 levels. And and this is specifically for the type A people that get anal retentive obsessed, and they say, I'm going to do keto, and they go balls to the wall and do keto, good on the, I guess, self-restriction, but bad because they do it over and over and over again without coming out of ketosis. So that's where it gets the bad rap, is the low carb tank and the T3. If you take a day, 2 days and come out of ketosis, then you're fine. Your T3 is not going anywhere. It's not going to go in the toilet.
Yeah. And that was like when I did my little stint with carnivore a couple of years ago, I fell in love with it. It was crazy, Amy. I did so many carbs. I could not get out of ketosis at that point. Like my friends, we were laughing because I'm texting people. I'm like, I just had a full sweet potato. I'm still in ketosis. I was like, I just had some, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then at that point I was like, I've got to get out of ketosis. Like, I'm like, this is great. Like I'm feeling amazing, but I just knew physiologically, I was like, I've got to get out of ketosis. So we all just laughed. And I think it was also the point, like I had lost so much of my boobs. I was like, I can't lose any more of my boobs. So you not like I always keep my butt, but man,
the boobs went down. Well, breast tissue is fat. So you're going to lose boobs when you lose weight. It's just it's part of it. So you do carnivore. What did you think of that? And when do you use that with your patients?
Oh, you know what? I did that. And it was funny because when I started seeing people talking about it, I'm like, this can't be healthy. I'm like, how in the world would this ever be healthy? This is way too much meat. It's going to be too acidic. And then I started seeing some of the most brilliant people that I know that were doing it. And I was like, oh, they know something that I don't. And it was when I started digging into several podcasts, realizing about the inflammation from lectins and all of those things. And the fact that, because I was doing tons of greens and tons of just all of the healthy, quote unquote, all the healthy things. But I was listening to a podcast and they said, here's the deal. Like if an animal is under attack, it's going to run away. When a plant or a nut or a seed is under attack, it can't. So it secretes things like and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And that's what causes the inflammation. And I was like, I need to try this. And so I started and it was like 1 week and then 2 weeks. And I was like, this is amazing. And it was like, all of a sudden, my butt and my thighs were smaller. Like I said, I lost my boobs though. And then it was just after a while, I also tried it for food allergies because I was worried after all these years of being keto and paleo that, the amount of coconut oil that I do, it's a lot. I was like, oh, what if I'm allergic to coconut? Like I'm worried. And so it was my way to test for food allergies.
Okay.
So that's why I did it. And then I also wanted to test eggs. And so as you eliminate all these things and then you slowly start adding them and then you can start seeing if you're having any reactions that way. So that was why I did it originally. But it's when we were having food sensitivities, or it's sometimes when I just need to change things up for somebody. If they've been doing keto for a bit, we're doing certain things, but we need to deep dive a little bit more. And then like the biohackers, everybody loves it that way. But, typical, like sometimes people are just like, that's too extreme when you're only doing like animal products, basically is what you're doing.
You can have dark chocolate still, right? Can you have a little dark chocolate on carnivore? Like,
what animal makes dark chocolate?
I don't know. I just want to.
I think that might be the liver of a cow. It's dark chocolate, isn't it?
That's what I'm going to go with if I ever try carnivore. Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I think I would do it in extreme cases when someone is so inflamed or they're just in that state where it's like, listen, we're doing everything. I actually have a patient in mind that today we were going back and forth. And it's like, your thyroid's good. Your hormones are good. Everything is optimal, like functional medicine optimal. There is nothing in your blood work that shows why you're not losing. So we might have to just kick it up a notch and try carnivore.
Yeah. And I did. It was really, did an episode with Craig Emmerich and we went through all the science of the gut. Like it was really cool. So, yeah, like at that point I was like, oh, I should totally, there's no way I could live a life like that. Like I like my red wine, my dry farm wine. Yeah. I do that. I don't do it crazy. I do it like once every 3 weeks, but you know what I mean? Like I still want that. I still love my organic coffee. I'll be honest. I didn't give that up when I did carnivore. Yeah, no. I made sure I did that, but then I did really good heavy SCT oil in it. So it was like a little frothy thing. So yeah.
I don't think Saladino tells you to give up coffee. I don't know. I think he still drinks wine too.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
See, I don't feel like, I feel like, if you listen to Emmerich's, they would be like, no way, that's not keto or that's not carnivore at all. Like it's head to tail. Like that's what it would be.
Yeah.
And I'm also that one. I'm like, I can't do a lot of organ meats. I just don't like preparing that type of stuff. So I do a lot, I do the cheaty way. Like I do a lot of the grass-fed organ capsules and stuff.
I would have to do the cheating way. I tried liver for the first time last night and ended up giving it to my dad and my dog. I tried it.
I know. I go back to when my mom used to make it as a kid in the stall of the house. I can't do it.
Yeah. It was pretty rough. So yeah.
Mm-mm.
So I want to talk about intermittent fasting before you go, because that is a question I also get a lot from my listeners and from my patients. So tell me your take on intermittent fasting and women. Because like you said before, all the bloggers out there were like, intermittent fasting is bad. So we started with keto, but I want you to touch on the intermittent fasting piece.
Yeah. And I think especially for women, the 1 meal a day, let's not do that, because I really think that's a stressor.
Yeah.
And especially, if our thyroids has already had issues, we know their adrenals really had issues at some point. And so we don't need another stressor in there. But I am a fan, and, I start people out because I didn't realize that some people that I know were waking up in the middle of the night to eat. Like it started kind of becoming a conversation that I would have with new patients, because I didn't realize how many people did that, because that was not ever in my realm. And to say that, it wasn't in my consciousness. So at that point, I always just tell people, let's shoot for 10 to 12 hours. And typically that can be easily done with, stop eating after dinner, wait a couple hours after you wake up, because if we're sleeping 8 hours, you've got the big chunk there.
Yeah.
But how often we grab that glass of wine after dinner and we might, drink that until we go to bed. Well, that's not fasting at that point. Like after dinner, it's done. And then add on. So you're not having that eating window, or you're not eating. So that way your blood sugar is not spiking and going up and down and up and down. So I start people out that way. And then we do get up to the 16 or 18 hours. But I feel like a lot of times if we're doing 18 hours, 7 days a week, again, it becomes too much of a stressor on the body. Yeah. And so I like to vary it and have people really becoming more in tune to themselves and listening. Like we spoke about, we were gone this weekend. Things are different. Like when I woke up Monday, like 7 a.m., I was like, wow, I'm hungry already. Yes. And typically I wouldn't eat till 1 o'clock. But I knew it was because we had dry farm wines this weekend. I ate some more carbohydrates than what I typically would. I was I wasn't sugar burning. I'm sure I was. And so it was enough where I was like, all right, well, what can I do? I'll put some, and at that point I just did some coconut milk in my coffee. So I had some good fats in there. Mm-hmm. And then I think I had like a beef stick a couple hours later. So, I broke my fast. I don't know how many. Oh, but you know what? I didn't get home until like midnight either. So
same.
Gosh, that whole day was just totally thrown. But intuitively eating this morning when I got up, I was fine. I didn't eat until 1 o'clock today. So listening. And it's when I say intuitive, I hate that, because there's also, I laugh with Vivica Menendez. I don't know if you know her. She was one of the bloggers that was screaming, hey, intermittent fasting, we got to do this different for women. This was way back when. And so we connected that way. But she's like, oh, the intuitive eating, like if I feel like going and eating a bag of Oreos, like, no, that's stupid. That is plain out stupidity. Like your body isn't craving Oreos. It's the candida in your gut that's craving the Oreos, right? Like that's what it is. Yeah. So intuitive eating, really listening. Like, do I feel like I need a lot more protein today? Do I not? Like, what day was it? It was yesterday, I guess, for lunch. I was like, I was hungry. Yeah. Like yesterday I was hungry at lunch. So I had a lot of protein, like double the protein that I typically would have. But guess what? Last night at dinner time, I wasn't hungry. I didn't eat. Yeah. So, follow intuitively that way versus, but I had a ton of protein at lunch yesterday. So I was able to make it through the evening, and I was okay.
Yeah. I agree 100%. So that's why another reason why we love each other. We just agree on everything.
We're long lost sisters.
I know. Seriously. I know. Sister from another mother. But no, it's true. When you travel, it throws you off. So even, we didn't eat badly, but we just had more carbs and more dry farm wines. And I got to tell you, getting home late and having your circadian clock off. And I didn't get to bed that night probably till like 1:30. I was starving the next morning. I'm like, well, I did a 6-hour fast. That's good.
That was exactly my thought. Because I remember it was like at 11:30, I was like, I'm hungry. And I ate something. I sat there thinking, it's 11:30 at night. God, you're going to, and I was like, yeah, screw it, whatever. I'm hungry.
Yeah. And this
and then I went
ties
to bed.
back to your original point. Give your body some grace. Give yourself some
Mhm.
grace. You're not going to be perfect all the time. Love yourself for where you are. If you travel and you get thrown off and you eat badly and you come back and you're starving and you can't fast, who cares? Give it a couple days. Don't beat yourself up over it. It'll balance out.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, is being A-okay with who we are. Like it is. I mean, I knew if I went to bed, I hadn't had dinner, right? I was on an airplane we left at whatever time. And it was like, by the time that the time zone changed, I was, at that point hadn't had dinner. And I was like, you know what? I would like to eat something.
Yeah.
Rather than like the whatever. Yeah. Because on the plane, they gave me goldfish. I'm like, I can't eat that. Like, can you just give me something? Like no, they don't have anything. Goldfish or cookies. Great. Neither, please.
Fig bar. I ate the fig bar that they gave me on the plane because I was so hungry. So I know that jacked my sugar up, and that's why I was hungry at 6 a.m. Yeah. But no. So how do people get in contact with you if they want to work with you and they want to deep dive more into this keto and have you hold their hand throughout this process? How do we do
Absolutely. Yeah. Dr. Lisa O, DrLisao.com. And then I also have a keto blueprint there that they can download and some recipes and all sorts of stuff. They can check it out over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Lisa O. And then my podcast is Healthy Living Simple with Dr. Lisa O. So we cover all sorts of stuff over there. Really it's, I'm a pretty like crunchy granola girl where I'm all organic. Even my makeup and everything is like as natural as possible. So we go through just healthy living, and we're covering that topic that we were speaking of earlier. I've got some amazing guests on that. If you want to find out some more information, especially if job security, et cetera.
Yeah,
we're talking a lot of conversations over there. So as long as Apple and Spotify keep me up.
I know. I've sent your podcast with Teresa. I sent that to a couple of people that are getting the mandate for their job. So yeah, powerful. Really good stuff. You have great guests on there, so I highly recommend it. So we'll put that in the show notes too for people to link to. So thank you so much for your time today, and I'm so happy we get to hang out again in a month. So
I know. Yay!
Topics to talk about and have you back on.
Sounds awesome. Thanks so much. It was so fun.
Thanks, Lisa.